Okay, let's weigh about 5 grams of nutmeg, ground nutmeg. Alright. Okay, so here's 5.045 grams of nutmeg. 5.044 at 5.044 grams of ground nutmeg. I'm going to transfer that onto this round bottom glass, 100 ml round bottom glass. Okay, here's the ground nutmeg, and we're going to add the solvent. Okay, we need to add the solvent to this round bottom flask. We need about 20 ml of solvent. The solvent is 3:2 ratio of hexanes to isopropyl alcohol. 20 mils. Alright, so 3:2 ratio in 20 mils is 12 mils of hexanes and 8 mils of isopropyl alcohol. So let's add 12 mils of hexane first. Okay, that's about 12 mil, right? Approximately 12 mils, and 8 mils of isopropyl alcohol. Okay, so that makes 20 mils of our solvent. Right. Let's add this to our round bottom flask. Right. Just that. Okay, the next step is a reflux step. I'm going to add a magnetic stir bar into this round bottom flask and connect the flask to the condenser. Put a clip on to seal the joint and lower that to a hot plate. Alright, so what we're doing here is we are mixing the ground nutmeg with the solvent and apply some heat. Pretty much like brewing a coffee. During the coffee brewing, you're extracting the caffeine from ground coffee. Here, we're extracting a similar compound called trimyristin. Trimyristin is a triglyceride. It's a fat, right? We're extracting the fat triglyceride from the ground nutmeg. So we apply heat and do the reflux. And the reflux is nothing but it's a technique to keep the solvent. We want to apply the heat, but at the same time we don't want to evaporate off the solvent. Without the solvent we can't extract the trimyristin. So the boiling solvent will evaporate and touch the condenser. It's a water condenser. It's a the cold region in the water condenser. Right? Water in, water out. That makes the condenser cold. Once the vapor touches the condenser, it condenses and drips back into the flask. That way, we don't lose our solvent. Right. So we're going to do the reflux for next 45 minutes, and at the end, we'll expect some nutmeg. The white compound is in the liquid. This is a solid liquid extraction. Right. The nutmeg is the trimyristin is actually in the nutmeg. It's going to come out of the nutmeg and go into the liquid solvent. So it's a solid liquid extraction. Okay, 45 minutes. Okay, after about 45 minutes of reflux, let's turn off the heating and remove our flask. And cool it down for a few minutes. Right. Okay, after cooling for a few minutes, the flask is still warm. Right? The liquid is still warm. We're going to do the filtration to separate the nutmeg, which is insoluble at a higher temperature, into the solvent. We're going to separate the insoluble nutmeg, and we get the brown liquid into the flask. So what we do here is actually two techniques: a vacuum filtration followed by a recrystallization. In the vacuum filtration, we separate the nutmeg from the liquid. In the recrystallization, we'll crystal out the trimyristin, which is a white organic compound, right, which is soluble at a higher temperature and insoluble at a lower temperature. So we cool down the liquid, the brown liquid, which will crystal out our nutmeg. Let's do it. Turn on the vacuum and connect the hose. And wet the filter paper and transfer this liquid. Okay. Here we have the insoluble nutmeg on the filter paper. Right? Looks like a sand. And in the bottom, we got our trimyristin, the white compound, crystalling out of the liquid. The liquid is what we filtered through the filter paper, but in the ice bath, the nutmeg started forming crystals. And we're going to do another filtration into this. In the second filtration, we'll get our crystals. Alright, so I'm going to stop that first filtration. Okay, stop the first filtration. These are crystals. The white crystal or precipitate, which is nutmeg. We're going to filter that in the second filtration. Okay, I'm going to let it go for another 5 minutes to dry the purified nutmeg or purified trimyristin. Right? That's a white crystals or white precipitate, which is our trimyristin. Once it's dry, I'm going to check the weight and melting point. Right? Okay, here is the zero down whey paper, tabbed whey paper. I'm going to take this out. It's still kind of wet. I'm going to let it dry for a few minutes on the bench top. This is an organic solvent, hexane and isopropanol. They don't take much time to evaporate. Right? Unlike water, their boiling points are less and they evaporate faster. So once it's dry, I'm going to check the weight. Okay, here's our trimyristin, extracted from nutmeg. Let's check the weight. Put it on the scale. The weight of the extracted trimyristin is 1.918 grams. Right, 1.918. So that's how much fat. This is fat, right? White trimyristin triglyceride is a fat. That's how much fat you'll get when you eat about 5 grams of nutmeg. All right.